Welcome to Broad Eye, the podcast that explores knowledge gaps in ophthalmology and eye care.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Broad Eye podcast. I am Dr. Bruno Fernandez, and today I have the pleasure of having Dagmar Jamieson with me, and we have so much to talk about. So without any further ado, Dagmar, how's it going today? Let's get this party started.
Well, it's a beautiful day. The sun is coming out here in Calgary, and I am honored to have the opportunity to interview with you, Bruno, and looking forward to it.
All right. So you're in Calgary, right? So you were born and raised?
No, I was born and raised in the Czech Republic, and my parents left Czechoslovakia during the Prague Spring. At that time, I was 8 years old. Everything was a mystery to me. I didn't understand politics, but I did understand that we were leaving my grandmother, my family, my friends, and I didn't discover that until we were in Austria. So it was a bit of a shock for me at that time. However, in hindsight, as my relatives explained to me, the situation in the Czech Republic was quite backward as far as adversity and blindness. And so it was a good thing that my parents brought me to Canada, because the whole world opened up to me. I wasn't blind when we came to Canada, but the onset of my visual impairment started when I was 13 years old. Had I stayed in the Czech Republic, I would have been put in a home where I would have been segregated from society and not had the opportunity to integrate as I do here in Canada. I live my life as any other individual and have never let blindness get in my way or identify me in any way until just recently as I aged, I had to accept the fact that my sight is at the point where I need to tell people that something is wrong and I need a little bit of assistance.
And how, you mentioned those homes for the blind in the Czech Republic, like what exactly are those? Are those like schools that they give support so the blind can learn skills and live with their disabilities?
Well, I'm not sure. My aunt described it very briefly to me because she was going to a masseuse that was blind. So most blind people would then be encouraged to become masseuses.
Yeah.
Any sort of, career or basic skills that would help them navigate a cane. And so it's kind of sad because I don't know any blind people in the Czech Republic that have become PhDs like Sean or have done phenomenal things, which is quite sad. And so I feel very grateful that I am here in Canada.
Yeah, so that's something that we heard already for a lot of people with visual problems. Like when they search for help for places like that, they usually put them in the box, and it's very limiting on the options that they tell that they could do. And they kind of like don't explore like all the potentials, like that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, people like you are continuously to prove us or them wrong, right? Like, of showing all the things that you can accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we haven't talked about your specific disease yet. So let's make it clear for audience, like what exactly do you have, and then what are the symptoms that you have.
So initially I was diagnosed with macular degeneration. Back in those days, they didn't really know that much. Then Dr. McDonald diagnosed me to have Stargardt's. And later on, he sent me for some genetic counseling, and my condition is identified as cone rod dystrophy. So I have been losing my central vision, and now even my peripheral vision is starting to deteriorate. However, I seem to adjust and adapt, and I function well. I seem to not let that get in my way. I don't even focus on my condition. I don't think about it. I just focus on what I am capable of doing, and I figure it out.
And at what age you were considered legally blind?
So at the age of 13, when I went back to school at grade 6, after the summer holidays, I didn't notice anything. And then when I sat at the back of the school with all my friends, I realized that the teacher's face was somewhat blurry and I can't see the blackboard really clearly. So my mother took me to the optometrist, who then said, I have a serious problem. So we went to see the ophthalmologists, and it was a shocking realization when the ophthalmologist told me that I was going to lose my sight.
And it evolved pretty quick, I suppose?
I suppose, because I didn't notice any changes earlier. And even when I was diagnosed, initially it struck me as a devastating fact. However, I realized that I can still ride my bicycle, I can still walk to school, I can still play sports. Perhaps playing baseball wasn't the best sport for me. I didn't see the ball way out in the field. I could hit the ball, I could run, but when people were throwing the ball to me, it was quite a challenge to catch it. And so I decided baseball's not my thing, but I learned to dance and figure skate, and I developed other passions like downhill skiing, and I had no problem participating in those sports at that time. And actually for many years after that. And so I pretended that I didn't have any issues. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, my closest friends, I shared the secret with. I told them that I can't see the blackboard. So a lot of my closest friends stepped up to help until the teachers stood me out and pointed out that there is assistance that they could aid me with. And when they gave me binoculars to read the blackboard, as a teenager, I did not accept that very well.
Yeah, like it definitely stands out, right? And like teenagers can be cruel at times.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important also, like to make a distinction here, because like when we say legally blind, like people that are not familiar with the field, like assume that you don't see anything at all, that you live in total darkness. But like each cause of blindness is unique and very rare. That like, I mean, it's a total darkness. So in your case, the central vision was impaired, but your peripheral vision was fairly normal, right? So that kind of like, although it's hard to read or identify faces, it is relatively easy for you to navigate and walk, and like, I mean, see your surroundings and adapt to the limitation. What I wanted to bring up today, you sort of like touched on already, like, I mean, so how you came out with your condition. You said that initially you shared that only with your close friends, and then eventually, like more people came to know about that, particularly the teachers. And how was that transition? Like, I mean, once your not so close friends like realized that you had that, like, did people change like the way they treated you?
Well, as life went on, I I started, I became a hairstylist, and I had no problem designing people's hairstyles, and then I opened up my own salon. Later on, my staff realized that I had some issues, so they were there to help me, and eventually I transitioned to managing the salon. Some of my clients recognized it. I then met my ex-husband, who for 2 months didn't realize I had a visual impairment. And one day he made a comment where I stopped him and I said, well, as a matter of fact, I don't see. I am visually impaired. And he was quite shocked. And so he said, well, I would have never known. And for a period of time, I asked him to not share the secret, but of course, to keep me safe, I asked him to be considerate of it. I wanted to be just like everybody else, and I wanted to ease into letting others know that I had a visual impairment. So I was very stuck on this image that I had to be perfect, which in the end, that was a mistake. And I wish I had come out a lot earlier. However, one day, one of my husband's friends came up to him and said, I don't know why Dagmar doesn't respond when I wave at her across the street, or she seems to walk by me in the club. Is there something wrong? And so my husband spoke to me and said, well, these are the comments I'm getting from people. So I took a deep breath and I thought, okay, well, I need to face this and let people know. And everybody said, oh my God, she copes so well. We would have never known that she has a visual impairment. We thought it was something else. Some people have facial recognition issues and so on. They saw me figure skating on the ice. They saw me playing sports. Perhaps badminton wasn't my best sport, but I could hit the birdie. And sometimes people would say, hit the bird. And I wouldn't hit it as efficiently or effectively as everybody else, but I took some lessons and I became somewhat good at it because I was very athletic, and I like to overcome every challenge I faced. So when I came out and told my friends, it was such a relief how many people stepped up to help. And even today, people walk up to me at the sports facility that I go to, and they say, here's my arm, let me walk you to the yoga studio, what equipment are you looking for? And I feel like royalty. I feel like a first-class citizen because everybody is catering to me, and it's just so nice. I wished I had shared that much earlier.
And you seem to be a very active person. You mentioned already like some of the sports that you like practicing. So figure skating, like yoga now. So what else keeps you busy?
Well, my husband and I, we ride our tandem bike and we hike. I love hiking, even though it is difficult. I hiked fairly challenging mountains here in Alberta. In Canmore, there is a mountain or a trail called Lady MacDonald. That is quite a challenge. It's quite steep. I get quite jealous when people, run by me and they're hopping from stone to stone. And if I could see those stones, it would be much easier because I am very fit. But I am determined to get up to the top of the mountain. My husband's not as fit as me because he's a cybersecurity technologist and he sits at his computer all the time. But I get him out and he's very grateful. And we make it to the top of the mountain because I'm very determined to. He would like to turn back, but I like to get to the top. I like to achieve things.
Yeah, I mean, we had the pleasure to chat with Randy Pierce, like in our show already. Like his episode is published. It's been maybe a year or so, and he's completely blind and he's a hiker, and then
Mhm.
in the northeast, of US, and he loves doing so. Uh, it's a very inspiring chat that we had as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So from a professional standpoint, like you mentioned that you had your own hair salon, so you had that entrepreneurial spirit that like didn't get affected by your disability. We had the chance to chat a bit like before we started recording, and then we mentioned how like sometimes what it's offered, as professional opportunities for people with visual problems is quite limited, and people like you keeps proving us wrong. So like two questions then. Like I mean, one, it's like have you had that kind of uh, uh, problem, I would say, like, I mean, people suggesting things
Mhm.
that you could do and then things that you should even bother trying. And then the follow-up questions is what exactly have you end up like accomplished like throughout your life, like professionally wise?
Well, when I was a teenager and I was in high school, guidance counselors would say to me, Dagmar, your sight is going to deteriorate. It would be best if you would become a counselor, a social worker, perhaps a psychologist. And that was something that was not in my cards initially. My my passion was in design. I liked being a fashionable teenager. I I had a vision for interior design. I wanted to get into interior design. However, I saw the limitations much, much more. Um, I couldn't drive, and so the limitations there were showing their face. And so I thought becoming a hairstylist gave me that outlet of fashion and design and things that really touched my spirit at the time. While being a stylist, I realized that people had a lot of um, psychological issues. And as I overcame my disability, I realized that I overcame challenges because I had to shift my mindset about who I was. And so then later on in my life, I realized that that is something that I could I could be very passionate about, is helping people overcome their challenges. But prior to that, my husband and I we built a home. I did the design. When my contractor and architect realized that I had a visual impairment, they took a huge step back and started protecting me. And I set them straight. I told them that I'm excellent at visualizing things, that I know exactly what I want. And I told them how I designed the entire home. It was a very expensive home, and my husband had no fear and no doubt in my abilities. So he gave me the full go ahead. And I told the contractors and the architects that if we make mistakes, we pay for them. So to listen to me. In the end, they congratulated me. The architect said that was the fastest design um, that he accomplished ever with a client. Because when I get a vision, I know I'm a very quick decision maker. And so that home was sold eventually for a lot of money. It was put in a design
Magazine or?
magazine,
Mhm.
and it was displayed in a charitable tour. And so I am very confident in what I visualize. And it's an interesting phenomena because people can't imagine how I do that. But I guess because I had sight before, or my sight was fairly good before, I would walk into a room and I would think, if they moved that couch over there and if it was a different color, it would get a totally different feel, and it would be more pleasing to the eye. So I had that talent right from the get-go. So later on in my life, as I started to lose my sight, I would work with a designer and I would ask them, well, tell me what can be done. Let's share some ideas. And then I would reflect and say, no, this is what I think it should be. It should be that height. It should be this color. It should be this prominent. And spatial acuity, I was very good at. So, but it is a continuous challenge because, of course, I'm losing my sight continuously, and people find it difficult to trust and believe me. So, but I put my foot down, and I am doing it for myself, so nobody has to,
validate that.
Yeah. So, and then this is where Dr. Kennedy in one of your podcasts inspired me, because I do believe that blind people, that's how we navigate the world, is through visualization. I noticed that in my home, when I walk around, I appear like I'm totally sighted because I know where everything is. And it's like I have a map in my head. As soon as somebody moves a piece of furniture, I crash into it. And then I said, oh, right, I moved it, or it got moved. And so, but in my head, I have this picture of where I'm going and what it looks like. And so I think that's how blind people, or at least that's how I navigate the world.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, like, what tools, like, I mean, do you use to help? Because technology has really come a long way to help like people with visual disabilities. So I was wondering if you use any.
I do, and I use the GPS when I'm out in the, looking for, when I go out on my own, or I travel. I've traveled by myself, and I just use the GPS to navigate the streets. And it's fascinating. It's such a feeling of independence. And other people step in. I've gone on tour buses or tours. I was in LA one time, and when I got off the bus, I realized there's 100 other buses, and I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to find the right bus? And so I went up to the driver and I said, I have a bit of a visual impairment. When I come back, would you mind spotting me and making sure that I get on the right bus to get back to my hotel? And in 5 minutes, there was a couple that overheard this. And so I met this family from Mauritius. I'm still in contact with them. Intuitively, I felt they were really nice people. The son was studying to be a cardiologist at Harvard, and the parents were with him, and they were touring LA, and we developed a great friendship, and they were quite fascinated with the fact that I was blind, and yet I was brave enough to travel on my own. And so there are a lot of wonderful people in the world. However, I am very careful, because on the other hand, there are some people that would take advantage of a blind person. And I have been, once or twice, knock on wood, not many times, but I walked into a building. I was looking for an office, and I walked up to a security guard and I said, I am here to find such and such company. I believe they're on floor 23. And could you guide me to the right elevators and take me to that office? Well, he did take me to the right floor, but he started walking me into the right office. At that time, I had enough sight and I realized that that office was empty. And I said, I don't believe this company is in an empty office. So why are you taking me here? And I backed off, and the CEO of the company walked out at that time, and he said, Dagmar, you need to come here. And so that, he recognized what that security guard was doing, and I hope he reported him. But so sometimes, you have to be very careful when you disclose that you need help. And I believe I started to get that feeling from him. And so my antenna detected something wasn't right. And I really listened to that.
That's scary.
It is, but, that's life. I mean, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to somebody that isn't blind. So it's really important to always be careful of who you trust when you ask for directions or help. So that's a lesson for everybody.
Yeah. So that's a lesson that you learn among many others, and I believe this is probably one of the things that you share with your students, I guess, right? Because now you also work as a life coach, like, I mean, sharing with your knowledge and your experiences and trying to empower others. So can you talk to us a bit about that? Like, what exactly is your clientele? Is it like only people with visual disabilities, or do you serve as a life coach to anybody?
No, I serve as a life coach to a variety of individuals, anywhere from teenagers to adults. And my approach is a contemplative Buddhist approach, where I try to help people shift their mindset to being more compassionate and looking at the world from a more positive outlook. I've had, like, an example, I had a young teenager who seemed very impatient and angry and always, complaining about his job and how he hates it, or when he's driving, people are cutting him off, people are so stupid. So,
sounds like a classic teenager.
and it is, but I suggested to him in this instance, I said, well, why don't you look at this, take the approach that the drivers that appear so stupid and reckless to you, what if that driver is driving to the hospital because their child was sick, or somebody they knew was in the hospital, or there was an urgency as to why they were driving the way they were, and have compassion for them? Would that help you gain a little bit of patience when you're driving? Why jump to the conclusion that these people are reckless, inconsiderate? And so I feel the rest of life, we always tend to blame and shame and judge people. And if we take a different consideration or perspective, that person might be going through something very difficult, and how can we help them? So as a driver, maybe hold back and let them go ahead of you. What's it going to cost you? 3 minutes of your time? And it's so many situations in life, so many things we face can be resolved with being considerate in what's going on for the other person. I also did a conflict resolution mediation certification, and there too, we were taught that there are many perspectives in an argument, and most people will argue their point, but a mediator should reflect back and listen to both perspectives, and then, make it understood to the other party what both perspectives are, and then how we can come to an agreement where both parties are happy. And it is a much better approach. It takes a bit of talent as a mediator to get people to that approach. But I also find that individually, I can help people with their inner conflict and to reconsider their judgment and blame and their perspective of what and why that other person is the way they are.
Yeah, those are wise words, and with time, I came to realize how like people that overcome challenges like tend to be or become like wiser than average, and you seem to confirm like I mean, that this theory of mine, and so it's a good thing that you're sharing that with other people, particularly the young, so they can learn early and then like live a more serene life, like with less aggressive thoughts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because as I started to lose more and more of my sight, I had to think differently. I had to learn to face adversity and had to learn to understand the way other people see me and what fears they perceive. And so I had to figure out how to shift their mindset around that. So
Dagmar, I have like you're coming to a wrap, but I have one last question, and it's a passion that we share. I heard you play chess, and I like it too. I played chess since I was a little kid, and how do you do it? Because I mean, obviously you can't see the board like that well, like, and do you use your peripheral vision, or you memorize the number of each square?
well, for many years I used my peripheral vision, and I visualize the strategy in my head. Now, I'm not a world renowned chess player, and I haven't played chess for a few years now because my vision has deteriorated more, and I use a partner, or I need somebody to help move the players for me. But when I heard that podcast of one of the chess players that was a world-renowned player, I thought, heck, I can figure this out on my own. And all I have to do is perhaps get start out with a board that is adapted. And so because I love to strategize, and perhaps that's where I became more entrepreneurial, because chess taught me to strategize and to think ahead and to plan and to organize myself. And so I contribute that to my knowledge of playing chess. I think every person should learn to play chess.
Yeah,
it's a great game.
I agree with you. I used to play as a kid, and then I kind of stopped because like other goals in life. But like recently, I started playing again, and I make it a habit. I think it's good for the mental health, to keep it active.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Dagmar, thank you very much. You didn't disappoint. I had a lot of fun like sharing with you. Very inspiring, everything you accomplished. Thank you for sharing. Congratulations on everything you've done in your life, and like you're still young, so I'm sure there will be a lot more to come, and hopefully, like in the future, we could have you back.
I would love that. Thank you very much for the pleasure of meeting with you and speaking with you. And I believe that many blind individuals have so much ability, and they can do anything they desire if they just put their mind to it.
Yeah, those are nice words to end. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you very much, Dagmar. Have a good day.
Take care. You
Bye.
bet. Bye-bye, Bruno.
And that concludes today's episode of the Broad Eye Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Of course, ratings and reviews are always welcome. And you can certainly share this episode with any of your colleagues or friends who might enjoy it. Thanks for listening.